Well, hey, podcast listeners, in episode 50, that's right, you heard it, episode 50, woohoo, of the Pixar Post podcast, we're going to chat about everything from Finding Dory passing the $1 billion mark. We're going to chat about Lee Unkrich's Twitter Q&A session with some additional thoughts and insights that we dug up, and of course a lot more, but the gem of the episode is our interview with Beth Sullivan. Now, Beth works as the administration manager of the studio mastering department at Pixar, of course, and she has one of the most unique vehicles at the studio. Yes. So we'll get into what that is. But we'll
leave you with that for now.
Exactly. But since it's episode 50, heck, it doesn't matter which episode it is. It's time to put you on the spot.
Oh, no.
It's time
But since it's episode 50, I can put you on the spot this time, too.
All right. Well, okay. Do you want to put me on the spot first, or do you want me to put you on the spot first?
You might as well put me on the spot first.
Okay, fantastic. Then your first question, I think, is an easy one.
Oh, gosh, but every time you say it's easy, then I think about it too much.
The last one was Scud, was the first one. What's the name of Sid's dog? So I tried to warm you up.
Okay.
So, okay. And now, remember, give a quick second afterwards so anybody listening can think about it too.
Okay.
So, what is the name of the group of girls that Dot belongs to in A Bug's Life? Is it A, the Ladybugs, B, the Hoppers, C, the Antenna, or the Antennae, or D, the Blueberries? Yeah?
Okay, I knew this one.
Okay.
The Ladybugs.
I'm sorry, that is
incorrect.
incorrect.
No, it's the Blueberries. But... Oh, because they have the ladybug wings.
Right.
Yes. Oh.
It's the Blueberries.
The Blueberries.
Gotcha.
I knew it too.
Well, but you kind of like recovered quickly.
I know, it's because I can see Francis with them.
Exactly. Your second one, and this one I feel is pretty tough.
That's embarrassing.
It's when you get put on the spot.
Oh.
Okay, so this second one I feel like is a little tougher. I had to think about it, and I got it wrong the first time, because I didn't know. I found just a random quiz online from these two. So when Carl and Ellie watch the clouds in the opening up montage, what is the first shape of the first cloud that they see? Is it A, a bouquet of balloons, B, a turtle, C, a heart, D, a dog?
Okay, I knew this before. It's a turtle.
Darn right.
Yeah.
Nice. How'd you know that one?
I remember that for some reason.
The turtle was first.
Opening scene, yeah.
Well, of course, the opening scene is amazing.
I know, but I remember the cloud part because I used to do that as a kid, and for some reason I remember it.
The turtle it is.
Yeah. All
right. Okay. Hit me. I'm ready.
So, I don't want to brag, but mine didn't come from an already online quiz.
All right. You crafted these of your own accord?
I crafted these from particular screenshots and watching the films.
Okay, I am ready. How many do I have? How many questions?
You just have two, just like you gave me two.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. I am ready.
Okay, so in the short Small Fry,
yes,
how many discarded Fun Meal toys are in the meeting with Buzz Lightyear?
Oh my God, there's... All right, do you have multiple choice?
I do.
All right.
Is it 12?
Okay.
15?
Uh-huh.
Or 10?
Oh, just 3. Okay, good. 12, 15, or 10. 10 is too small. Now, aren't there some different ones when he goes, like... No, okay. I mean, they go around and around.
They're sitting in a round.
There's tons of them when they're
How
like...
How many are there?
Beef Stewardess, Lizard Wizard.
Yeah, it includes all of them.
Yeah, right. Nobody wants to play with Vampire Express. It's got to be the largest one. It's got to be 15. That's the largest one that you gave as an option, right?
Yes.
It's got to be 15.
It is 15.
Yeah.
It's actually a trick question because it's actually 14.
But including Buzz?
No.
Oh.
It doesn't include Gary Grappling Hook. Gary Grappling Hook isn't in the round, but we know he's there.
Right.
So it's really 14's in the round because they don't show Gary Grappling Hook until he
gets launched.
Yeah, but he's there.
All right.
So it's kind of a trick question, but it's
Funky Monk?
Yeah. Nobody wants to play with Pizza Bot. Pizza Bot sad.
the who wants to look at a central nervous system and chow down on a burger?
I'm Recycle Ben, and I got recycled.
Oh, I know, that one's great. I still think my favorite... I don't remember which my favorite is as far as the funny names, but my favorite voice, I've said it before, do you remember which one it is?
Koala Copter?
No. Even though that one's good. I might. It's a Lizard Wizard.
Oh, yeah.
I just love when he's like,
okay.
It's just so, it's so perfect. I think it's so cute. So
and Roxy Boxy. I got recalled.
right.
Okay.
Taekwondo, do you have a question?
No, that's just how I am.
Okay, all right. Enough about geeking
Yeah.
out about
Small fry. We like
fry.
that short.
All right, so I still got it.
Okay.
All right.
And my second question.
Yes.
P. Sherman in Finding Dory stands for the first name.
Philip.
Is it Philip,
Oh, sorry.
Patrick, or Piers?
I'm not abiding by my own rules of letting you read them and then waiting.
It's okay, because I do that too in the past.
Right, it's Philip.
Okay. I thought that one was going to be harder for you.
Yeah, P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way.
I know.
I gotta go see a man about a wallaby.
Yeah.
There you go.
So those are my questions. You did good.
All right, next time I expect harder ones. Or are you going to wait till episode 100?
Yeah, I don't know. Those are kind of hard to get.
Well, yeah, I mean, I came up with some of them on my own before. It is hard to come up with them.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about them. So, okay, let's get into some of the news, eh? I guess I'm Canadian all of a sudden. So, okay, so we on the last episode 49, we talked about that Dory was about to reach $1 billion. And of course, right after we record the episode, it hits the $1 billion mark. But we wanted to circle back on it because there's a couple things that we wanted to talk about. First off, we didn't want to just brush over it because it's such a huge accomplishment.
It really is in film in general, not just animation, but in live action too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is the fifth film the fifth animated film to cross over that $1 billion mark. But the other thing that we wanted to talk about is think about how many movies are made a year, period, across all genres, and from the beginning of like the Hollywood era. It's the 27th film in history that's passed over $1 billion. That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. So what's the other Pixar film that's crossed over?
Toy Story 3.
Correctamundo. That was not intended to be a quiz because I knew you knew it really, but whatever.
Frozen.
Oh, you want to go through the rest of them? Because we talked about it on the last podcast. Yeah. Okay.
Minions.
Yeah.
Zootopia.
You're right. Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's all of them.
Yeah. Okay, so the as of the 19th, October 19th, the film Finding Dory is at $1.011 billion. And just to put it into perspective, of the animated group, the furthest is Frozen, which is $1.276.5 billion. So it's got like a $265 million gap.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But the next closest
is Zootopia, right?
Is Zootopia, right, at $1.023.6 billion.
Which is funny because I actually looked at those stats before we recorded this. And I think it's interesting because just saying the Oscar race that's going to be this year, it could be between Zootopia and Dory, and they're so equally matched when you see those kind of numbers.
Right. Yeah.
And both had really great, strong stories.
Well, Dory still has more room to go. I mean, as far as it's not out of theaters yet, so it could reach it and or pass it.
But I'm just saying, they're so close together. So I'm really, not to veer off from our conversation, but I'm really interested because both I think are very strong films this year. Well,
yeah, they're both very strong films, but if you ask me, I'm going to lean towards one over the other.
Me too.
But again, both great. We're not knocking either. We own Zootopia. We love Zootopia too. To also put it into perspective for Toy Story 3, that was $1.067 billion. So again, Dory currently is $1.011 billion. So it's still got a ways to go if it wants to try to catch Toy Story 3. I'm not sure if it'll do that one, but I really am curious if it's going to pass Zootopia. It's got like another 12 million to go.
Yeah.
It's like, can it squeak that out? It sounds like at that point you're like, 12 million's nothing, but it's still 12 million.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we just wanted to talk about that because it's such a huge way to honor the film. So congratulations again to anybody that worked on Finding Dory.
Oh yeah, the entire team. What an incredible feat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and to know that, just think about how exciting that would be to know that you worked on a film that's one of the 27 films in history that's crossed over $1 billion.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing we want to talk about is last week Lee Unkrich had kind of an impromptu Twitter Q&A session when he was experiencing some travel delays.
It's funny because it seems like this is like the director's outlet. Because Andrew Stanton did this prior to the release, the theatrical release of Finding Dory. And he did a Q&A saying, I'm stuck traveling.
Yeah, he was doing for the press junkets. He wasn't stuck. He was just waiting for his next flight kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think it's funny. It mirrored.
Right. Well, it's got to be kind of exciting for them too, right?
Oh, of course, I think so.
Get all these questions and see which ones they want to answer and what they can say. And well, anyways, over the time, over 42 minutes, he answered 73 questions. And per the usual on this podcast, that I usually I got to do some basic division, right? So that gets me to an average of 1.73 questions per minute that he was answering.
This is your analytics.
That's right. So, of course, check out our site for the full list. Well, actually, I shouldn't say the full list. The list of questions that he answered that we felt applied the most to Pixar-related news. Because, of course, he talked about some Stanley Kubrick and other...
The Shining.
Yeah, talked about some other things out there, too. But again, if you ever want to get to any of our show notes, which has the links to this post, just go to pixarpost.com, click on the podcast button, and again, this is episode 50. It'll have the link to Lee's summary. So we wanted to kind of talk about a few of them that stood out to us the most here, not just rehashing what he said, but also because we have some additional insights, and I want to talk about it a little more. So just to kind of kick it off from a Coco standpoint, because I am getting super, super, super excited for this film the more I think about it.
Yes. And we are going to try to do something a little exciting, maybe a little fun.
Yep. So there's a couple things we're going to do. One of them, I'm crinkling, is a piece of paper that I'm holding that has a particular bit of information on it, which is going to get us our next podcast.
Oh.
That's your teaser.
I don't even know.
That's right, you don't. And that's not even my handwriting, is it?
No.
That's right.
Oh, I think I do know.
Okay.
I think I do know.
So we may have set something up for the next one because we want to get some more information out there. But anyways, so sorry if I was cutting you off on something too.
Oh, no, I think...
Okay, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, did I just cut her off? This podcast is off the rails. But he wanted to share some more information about Coco. And somebody said, hey, when can you share some more information? And just to kind of kick off the topic, he said, hopefully soon. Can't wait to share. So obviously he's got to be like, it's got to be so hard when you're working on this to like just keep it all quiet and keep it in this whole time, especially because, he's been involved with it
for years.
For so long.
Right.
One of the other questions he asked about it, though, is he said, what cities has he visited in Mexico? Now, technically with Mexico, they've got states and regions and districts and all these other things, but so of the ones that he's visited, he mentioned a couple. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at where they were within Mexico. I wanted to look at the types of, if he noted those were, to me, if you bring those up first, those are the ones that impacted you the most.
Right. Now, and it wasn't like Cabo.
Right. It wasn't full tourist destinations. Some of them have touristy elements. But he said, and many more, but still, I wanted to talk about a couple of them. So the first one, obvious, most obvious, Mexico City. Mm-hmm. It's very central to Mexico, and it's got that standard big city vibe. It's a big city, big buildings, lots of people. I was reading about it, like in the 90s, they had like pollution problems, and they've worked to bring that down. The amount that
I think there's a lot of factories there. I know Ford Motor Company has a couple factories there.
Right. And then, like they talked about like the impact on like the global economy and all these other things. So definitely a major city. So that's going to give you that flair going there. And then obviously he could go, whether he went to right downtown or whether he went to the outskirts, you can get kind of the flair of both big city and outskirts. Now this one, this name right here, I'm pointing to it for those listening. How would you pronounce that?
Oaxaca?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. It's spelled Oaxaca. I had to look this one up. And in fact, there's even a YouTube video that talks about how to pronounce it. There's many that talk about how to pronounce it. It's pronounced Oaxaca.
Oh.
How about that?
Oaxaca.
Oaxaca. Oaxaca. We're showing our Americanisms.
Yeah.
But that's another... It's really stupid, but it's not stupid. It's another reason I'm really excited about this movie, because this is really going to introduce so much more of this culture to other people. And so many films are just entertainment. They're fun. You learn a few things. But this one, I feel like, is going to be eye-opening for a lot of Americans. Now, yes, there's been other movies that have been Day of the Dead inspired, but I don't feel like they had the broad reach that this is going to. Right. And I feel like I'm going to take a very strong prediction, and I'm going to say this is the film that tips this holiday over and becomes it's already mainstream. I think it's going to be like mainstream plus in regions that it's not only talked about today, because it's mostly still Southern. There's pockets where this is celebrated more strongly. I feel like this film's going to push it over the edge.
Oh, okay.
I really do.
All right.
So, but anyways, with Oaxaca, this is in the southwestern region of Mexico, and it's one of the most rugged terrains in Mexico. So how it was listed on Wikipedia is it said it's with many mountain ranges that abruptly fall off into the sea.
Oh, cool.
Right. It's best known for its indigenous people and culture and rich history. So if there are touristy areas of it, I was on like Visit Mexico on that website. The most touristy areas are pre-Hispanic ruins. So it's not like the Mayan ruins, but it's other ruins that are out there, and the pictures are just crazy. So I'm really interested to see. As I kept looking at these, I just got more and more excited about, like, what is this film going to look like? Because he's got everywhere in Mexico covered.
Yeah, and he didn't say that this was, like, for research trips. He's just said that those are the places he's been.
Well, yeah, but let's be honest.
Assuming.
Let's be honest.
I know, but just a disclaimer.
No, you're right. You're right. So another one that he mentioned was Guanajuato. I believe I'm pronouncing that one correctly. Again, I'm going to plainly admit that I'm an American that is not versed enough in the language to know all the nuances. But that's more central.
You even took Spanish.
Well, yeah, but, you know, it's in high school. That was a long time ago now. So this Guanajuato, that's way wrong, is more of a large and vibrant city as well. Lots of those close buildings together with bright colors, what I would think of that's what comes to my mind when I think of Mexico.
Okay.
That's like the first city look. Like it's got a lot of the wires above the buildings, and the bright colors, and so that's like the first thing that comes to my mind. And then probably Morelia, which is so I think how it was listed. So here's again an excerpt from Wikipedia. It says, from the colonial spectacle of its buildings and elegant, vibrant streets to the delicious regional cuisine. That was actually on Visit Mexico. So this one is also kind of like a big...
like a city.
Not big city, though. It's definitely more of a
quaint
town. Yeah, more like a town kind of thing. But I was thrilled by the average year-round temp.
78?
Well, no, it's not 78 because that is my favorite temperature. It's ridiculous to say, but it's actually 79.9. But it's so darn close. I'm good with it. But literally, it's crazy. If you look at it, it's like right in that, like 86 to like 68 at like in the winter time frame. I'm like, this place sounds pretty good. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm intrigued by it. Let's put it that way. So we're going to keep trying to do our research and keep trying to dig up what we can dig up just to learn more about it. So that way we can go into the film, hopefully a little more educated walking in, and then come a little more educated walking out, probably wiping away some more tears knowing Lee Unkrich.
Yeah.
So a couple other things that Lee talked about, because I don't want to spend forever with me mispronouncing city names. As he talked about, somebody asked him his favorite contribution to one of his own Pixar films. And he responded with...
the incinerator scene in Toy Story 3.
Right. And is that like quintessentially Lee or what?
Yes.
Like it's got the dark elements, the emotional elements. Like
definitely an emotional pull. And I think it's more so the look and of the faces of the toys.
Right.
And the eyes. How the eyes just kind of... they get wide with like sadness, but...
the realization of it.
Yeah, but like, well, okay.
Right. Right. So I thought that was definitely Lee all the way. He also noted, he was asked about Mrs. Nesbit and said, like, who created this? He originally said, and tagged, he said, I'm not sure, but I think it was Andrew Stanton. Andrew Stanton replied and said, no way, that was all Pete Docter. So I thought that was really cool that, like, it kind of, he tagged Andrew and then Andrew ends up responding.
Right.
Like, nope, that was Pete Docter. So we know Mrs. Nesbit.
Was Pete Docter.
Right.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Gotta love social media for that kind of stuff.
I know. Like, seriously, what would exist now without it?
I don't know.
How could we survive any longer?
How could you have this outreach to these directors that
they couldn't do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and it just entrenches us even more into like not only thinking about Pixar more frequently, but just wanting to know more. It opens those doors. It has its downfalls too, but lots of good stuff. He noted that his favorite Pixar film that he didn't work on was Inside Out. That's a pretty
bold statement.
It is. Now, granted, he's worked on a lot of other ones, though. So
Right.
I feel like his list of ones that he hasn't touched
Are probably few.
Right, because I mean, like, back from his editing days, back to his, like, helping out with writing, and there's so many different aspects that he touched. I don't know if he means, like, this is, like, the first one that he literally has done nothing on.
Yeah, because he was working on Coco.
Right, so yeah, who knows? I mean, but it's interesting.
Inside Out is a phenomenal film, though.
No doubt about it. So I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with his, it's whatever he wants. Somebody asked him what the most aggravating scene he remembered having to edit when he was in his editing days, and he said,
the door scene.
Yeah, the door
in
vaults.
Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, and can't you just imagine that with all those cuts, the quick cuts, and when you're looking at all that raw footage, and you're just seeing doors, you're like, how do I make any sense of this? It's a maze.
How do I make it feel big? How do I make it feel like,
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's a daunting task right there.
Mm-hmm. So the other one that we want to end with is his note when somebody asked him what his favorite movie score or scores is. And he replied with...
Thomas Newman.
He said anything.
Anything, Thomas Newman.
Anything by Thomas Newman. So that really intrigued us because is Thomas Newman scoring Coco? Is he going to be asked to? He's worked with Randy Newman, obviously, on Toy Story 3. Mm-hmm. But that's a pretty big claim to put out there if he happened to be working with another composer to then go, oh, I like Thomas Newman the best.
Right. Now, Coco's still a year off, so scoring, I don't think happens quite yet.
No, but think about...
I think it's in another 6 months or so.
Well, when the actual process is happening,
yeah,
that's when they're recording.
So he probably has someone in mind.
Oh,
but then
this person's selected.
Yeah, but then we love Thomas Newman.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Favorites.
Mm-hmm. I think I know where you're going to go with this, and I've got an answer. Go ahead.
Okay, listening to Thomas Newman, I guess I haven't heard anything that sounds what I feel like the sounds of Coco would be.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In his repertoire.
My answer to that would be Adrian Belew, Piper.
Okay, I agree with that.
Because, do you remember, we said, how is this movie that's like with this bird going to match up with anything that we heard when we heard Adrian Belew's rock work?
You're right. Yeah, you got me.
You never know.
Me on that. You got me.
Because I said that, and the only reason I had it already ready to go is because I thought the exact same thing when I was eating lunch today writing up these show notes.
Yeah, I mean, we even talked about it.
Right. So it's interesting. So does it mean that?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Right. I'm intrigued.
I like that. Yeah, me too.
I'm intrigued. It's a bold statement, but obviously, I mean, it's not impossible to say that because Thomas Newman is a fantastic composer. I mean,
yeah.
Among Pixar, WALL-E.
And he's just coming hot off the heels of Dory.
Right. Yeah, you never know. Anyways, we shall see. Another thing that we want to do is circle back, actually, to Finding Dory. And there's been some deleted scenes that have been popping up online because the Blu-ray and digital and DVD release is going to be coming
October 25th.
October 25th for the digital, November 15th for the Blu-ray. they always do these little teasers of what the special features are. So there's a couple that have been released. One of them so far was a snippet of the special feature called Creature Features, with Eugene Levy and Caitlin Olsen, who voiced Charlie, with Dory's father, and Caitlin Olsen being Destiny, and offering some fun facts about their characters as well as the other animals they play. So again, if you want to see that clip, just head to our website, go to the show notes. But the one that I want to talk about a little more was when Andrew Stanton talked about the deleted scene. And again, it's not even the full special feature, so I can't wait to see the additional elements of it.
Right.
But he noted there's a deleted scene with the tank gang jumping in and helping out as Marlin and Nemo attempt to get to the Marine Life Institute and get separated from Dory. Mm-hmm. So it was just really interesting to hear his thoughts as far as how much more the tank gang from Finding Nemo, was going to be integrated into this film. So set up the special feature as far as...
Yeah, so the special feature shows, so in Finding Dory, when Marlin, Nemo, and Dory are in the underwater where it's like a sunken ship, like a freighter scene, instead of it being... Andrew Stanton kind of made it seem like instead of the octopus...
Right.
All three of them, they get separated. Marlin and Nemo go one way, Dory goes another. Mm-hmm. Marlin and Nemo happen to run into the tank gang, mm-hmm. which are now a Mission Impossible spy team / MacGyver. Mm-hmm. And they are in a bottle, and they kind of get Marlin and Nemo into this bottle too, and they have this long piece of kelp, and they use peach, and they put it on this freighter. They get on a freighter, and
yeah, and they overtake the freighter. Like they trick the captains.
Yeah, the captains.
The drivers.
Yeah, the drivers.
They trick the captain and all the support staff, if you will, to create a diversion
and start changing the freighter's course to go to California,
right,
to go to the Marine Life Institute, where they figured out that's where Dory is.
Right. So it's interesting though. So he said that he decided to not include that scene because it was making it more about Marlin and Nemo and taking away from Dory's story.
Mm-hmm. But it was there for 2.5 years though.
Right. So that's a long time, and obviously we had seen...
Maybe not that particular scene, but the tank gang was in the mm-hmm. film for about 2.5 years mm-hmm. before they decided to...
So how do you feel about it? Did you want that scene to be in?
No.
Okay, and why?
Okay, so part of me is... it's hard to say, because part of me is like, well, if I saw it, I would have appreciated it. But now that I know the way Dory went, I'm glad it went the way it did. The other half of me is like, I saw the tank gang. I laughed that they were in the bags, and I really liked the ending after the credits where they're still in the bags. They're all out filled with algae, mm-hmm. with the exception of Jacques. And now I love
so
that.
Awesome.
And now they're going to the Marine Life Institute. Mm-hmm. I feel like that opens a door for them being there and maybe doing a silly short, like a tune.
They could do a tune or a short for sure, and they could be this Mission Impossible
to me
crack squad still.
Kind of like the little shorts that DreamWorks does for their
like the Madagascar the penguins. Right.
I kind of felt that's kind of how it went. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad it was omitted.
I thought it was interesting, too, because Andrew talked about that. He's like, I really wanted this to be in here, but, sometimes in order to service the story, and again, a little director's tip, in order to service the story, you sometimes have to take out a scene that you love for the betterment of the story and the flow.
Right.
So, but I could kind of go either way because, boy, oh boy, when I was watching the animatic of those storyboard drawings edited together.
Oh, yeah.
And they're doing that whole fast, and they're flying around, and they're showing how they're going to create the diversion, and then it ends with the drop-off gag joke. They do that same type of thing when they're plotting with that same zooming and everything in Finding Nemo when they're plotting how they're going to get out of the tank.
Right, those quick zooms. And
yes,
quick
and I thought it was so cool that it was kind of like that same thing, but it's almost like the tank gang got even smarter, and they're even bigger as this band of James Bonds.
Right.
I thought it was cool because of that. Granted, the film had enough throwbacks to begin with. It wasn't like it was suffering from throwbacks to Finding Nemo, and kind of keeping a similar vein along those lines.
I think it was both Andrew Stanton and Lindsay Collins who, when they talked about characters coming back, reprising their role and making a cameo, I believe they said it was like they had a group of Russians, like when they were doing a press tour, who really wanted the sharks back, especially Bruce. And I feel like I am more on that side where I would have liked to have seen the sharks, even if it was just a swim, like they were swimming by and you saw them briefly, more so than an extended tank gang scene subplot in the film. Like, I liked how the tank gang stayed at the end.
Okay. I
would have maybe wanted to see one of the sharks. Even if it was just further in the back, that at least you saw one of them.
Just because you want to see it.
I know.
That's hilarious. Well, anyways, yeah, I'm intrigued. So anybody listening, if you have any thoughts on it, as far as if you thought it really should have stayed, if you're strong for it that it should have stayed, or if you're like, no, that definitely shouldn't have been in, let us know too. It'll be interesting. So leave a comment on the post.
Yeah, and actually, if you go to our show notes and look at the post, it's actually really beautiful artwork too that's in that. In that clip.
Yeah, from the special features.
Yeah, not just the animatic, but they actually have like a watercolor-esque drawing. It's really, really pretty.
Yeah.
Of them, like on the side of the ship.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit again. We're going to talk about some products.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's right. The dramatic products. There's been a slew of awesome Pixar-themed products that have been coming out. So a couple...
Cue in the Christmas music.
Right.
That's why.
Exactly. So obviously...
Or holiday tunes.
Forever 21 had their Toy Story line, or their Pixar line, where they had some of the clothing that was that way. We had obviously Vans that we've been talking the heck out of. Sorry if everybody's sick of it, but we're obsessed.
Yeah.
The Vans shoe line.
You have 3 of them. You have two shoes, and then we have one for our son.
Right. So they had that, and then the Pixar pajamas that are from
the Disney store.
From the Disney store that have the Luxo balls all over them. The Luxo Junior Pixar balls.
Yes.
That we all love. Like, the fact that those are only for kids. So we've already put the note out there in our social media that Disney needs to make these in adult sizes. So
we have quite a few responses of people saying adult sizes, please, adult sizes.
Exactly. So
even if it was just pajama pants.
You're right. Yes, you're right.
We would buy the heck out of them.
Yes. It needs to happen because, to prove the point, Vans, we got some of the inside scoop that essentially on that day when they launched, Vans did 3 times their profit of like an average day.
Yep.
In that day, and they sold out way faster than they ever expected.
In the store and online.
Correct. So then they went into rush mode to make sure to ramp up production to get these things out there. They had no idea it was going to be this popular. The Forever 21 line, very popular. These are for adults. So I don't want just t-shirts of designs. It goes to show that when you make a super creative product that's tied to a film that people love, it sells extremely well and kind of blows people's minds.
Or company, because the Pixar ball is basically like every film.
Yeah, but exactly. Yeah. So I think that, yes, it needs to happen. We need these. So if you haven't seen these, again, go to our show notes. We'll say it again. And we have one about it. It's just a picture. You'll see it right there in the top. It's a picture of the pajamas. They're bright blue, and they've got the balls all over them, and then a little patch of Buzz and Woody, and like they're flying, like when they're, it's falling with
Story.
style.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They're just too cool, and I need them.
I know you
This is no longer a want.
I'm going to have to buy like the largest kid sizes and then like sew them together to make you a pair of pants.
Cut them up and patch them together. That's
good
a
thing
good
you're
idea.
not a big guy.
That's a good idea.
I know.
So that was really, just our rant. So thanks for listening. We also wanted to talk about Tom Whalen, who's one of the phenomenal artists that's done many of the screen print kind of retro-y style posters for Pixar in the past. He's done ones for Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Toy Story. He's coming out with another one. They're releasing another one at MondoCon, which is actually this upcoming Saturday, the 22nd. So if you haven't got your tickets, get them. And it's of WALL-E. And it looks just, it's another beautiful print. We don't know edition size. We don't know if there's variants.
No, and actually, I did see on social media, Tom did say that it will only be available at MondoCon.
Oh, really? He confirmed it.
But he did not say any variant sizes or limited edition because people were asking. He did not respond.
Oh, variants or limited edition. Okay, yep.
Yeah. But he said that it will only be available.
Interesting.
This weekend there.
Okay. Well, obviously, there's going to be plenty of people that are buying them and selling them. One way that you can support Pixar Post, our website, is to, if you click through from our site to buy any products. So if you're looking at those pajama pants of the Luxo balls and you want to buy those, if you click through the Disney store and purchase them, it helps us out and support our site a little bit. So if you're doing that, and if you're looking for that Wall-E poster, which we will be, and we're not going to be at MondoCon.
Yeah.
So we're going to be
in Austin, Texas.
Yes, and we're not in Austin, Texas. So we're going to be looking for that on eBay ourselves. So if you're looking for it, if you click the link in there, it goes actually directly to the search for Tom Whalen Wall-E poster, and I've kind of worked the keywords a couple ways to make sure it always comes up with the largest grouping of posters. There's already some that are out there. People are pre-selling them. The Inside Out one that he did, we were lucky enough when it went online that we got one of those. Mm-hmm. And they're selling now on eBay for pretty much what we paid for them. There's some that are still like $80 and some that are $120. But you can get them like pretty reasonably priced. So I'm hoping that this is the case for this Wall-E one too.
The Toy Story one, I know that one used to go for a ton.
We had to fork it over for that one.
Yeah. And the other one that I see a lot, it's not Pixar related, but it's the Steamboat Willie one. That one still goes for like $400.
Mm-hmm. That's because it's super cool.
Yeah.
Well, there was a variant of that one. Is that the variant that you're looking at?
Probably.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's get into the gem of the episode.
Yes.
Let's talk about our discussion with Beth Sullivan. And I mentioned at the top of the show, she is the administration manager of the studio mastering department. So I'll give a little bit of the background as far as us procuring this interview. Mm-hmm. So when we were at the studio, we had seen pictures of this random Jeep that people are like, check out this fan art. At first, we didn't even know it was an employee of the studio. We're just like, that is some cool artwork.
We saw it online. People would post it on Twitter and Instagram.
And this is like years back.
Yes.
Then we determine that it's a Pixar employee. And we're like, who is it? We don't know. We go to the studio.
Into April 2013.
Right. And we're walking in and you're like, Pooh! And you see the Merida one.
I see the Jeep.
Right.
It's a Jeep, and it has a large metal Merida affixed to the back of it.
Right.
And if you are a listener of this podcast, you know how nuts I am about Brave.
Exactly. So these metal pieces, they started out small at the beginning when she started doing this. Now they're big. Now they encompass the whole width, basically, of the back of the Jeep. They're fantastically designed. They're cut out of aluminum. They're plasma cut out of aluminum, welded together with multiple pieces and layers. There's another gentleman that gets involved, which we'll wait till we get into the interview to talk about it. But his name's Todd. He's a model maker that's worked for ILM and all these other places. Like, the build of these is super cool. The quality of them, the details on it, and it pushed us over the edge when we saw the Merida one. We're like, who is this? Literally, we start asking employees, and they're like, I don't know who it is.
Yeah, we don't know.
I don't know who it is. Even as recent as when we saw the Hank one, which is the most recent one. There's a design for Hank. Even when we saw that, we're talking with an employee, and we had shared a picture that someone took at the studio. I don't even remember who it was that took it. And I'm like, oh, we just replied to him and said, is this your car? And he's like, I don't know whose car it is. So people like don't fully know who this is. So we finally had to dig in and find out who it was. So Beth Sullivan is who it is. So she is an absolute joy to talk to. I'm not sure why, but the phrase that came to my mind when I was listening to the interview again and editing it was that she warmed my heart. Mm-hmm. And I think what excites me most about the interview was hearing, obviously, the details of how they were made, the reactions from the public as she's driving around. And then make sure after you listen to this, or if you're listening to it and you're in a safe area and you're not in your car, and you can head to our homepage, she was kind enough to send us an image of every one of the pieces that she's done back from Ratatouille. So it started from Ratatouille, and we'll let you listen to the interview to go through all the characters that they are. But 2007 is when it kicked off, this series of these metal art pieces that she's putting on the back of her Jeep. And that one we had never seen.
No.
Because that's a pretty deep cut right when it first starts. And she talks about how like the public interest has grown, and even the interest in the studio is kind of like grown, and all these other things. So it's really it was just a joy to talk to Beth and hear about the process. And we say to her in the interview, you'll hear it too, that it's just like it brings a smile to your face to see this artwork so presented so large and just out in the world.
It does, and it was fun to say, hey, we've taken a picture next to your Jeep.
Yeah, because we walked past the Brave one, and you're like, take my picture. So yeah, it was really cool. It was really cool hearing that.
Yeah.
So when we kick off with the interview, we were chatting with her ahead of time, and we asked Beth to give us an idea about her role within Pixar, what the administration manager of the studio mastering department is. So we'll kick right into her response to that. So it's really, what is your role within the studio, and what is the importance and what happens within the studio mastering department. So let's listen in, and then we'll pick up on the backside with some other comments.
Studio mastering works very closely with post-production, which most people will be familiar with. It's at the end of the pipeline where the master copies for digital and home entertainment are actually created. So there's color grading, which is color balancing. We do that in this department.
Yep.
At the end of the pipeline, the director of photography comes into one of our suites, looks at the entire film in context and sequence, and does any color grading that's required. That is the main responsibility for the studio mastering department, or those are. And administration manager, project manager, paperwork manager, budgets, etc.
All that fun stuff.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, but obviously they got to rely on you to keep them all on balance.
Somebody's got to do it. I don't mind. I like doing it. So
that's right. All right. So what we love about what you do with the sculpts on your car is that there's art everywhere all around us. And what's fun about this is that it causes you to pause. So when you see this, all of a sudden you're not expecting it. It's attached to a car. It's this big character that's cut out of metal and has this great artwork and a great painting and sculpt that's associated with it. So it really brings a smile to your face, and that's really what we love. So what we wanted to kind of dig into is, what inspired you to start this process of creating these and putting them on your Jeep, and what was the first one that you created?
Sure. The first one I'll start with there was Ratatouille, for the film Ratatouille in 2007. And the credit goes to my husband, Kevin Sullivan.
Okay.
Who is a carpenter, metal worker, welder, and is very artistic and is very outgoing. I am less so. So when he proposed that he wanted a cutout of Ratatouille on the back of my Jeep, I initially pushed back.
Okay.
Because of the attention that I knew it would garner.
Okay. Yeah, it certainly would, yeah.
Certainly. Even though, have you seen the Ratatouille?
We have not seen Back to the Ratatouille one.
Okay, because that one was just aluminum.
Okay.
And it was a cutout of from a marketing poster of Remy holding a wine glass. And so it just fit very nicely on the tire.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while for people to catch it. So that was certainly not as eye-catching as Bing Bong, say, or Merida in Brave.
Right.
Very subtle. But that was actually the start. And it goes to Kevin, and he just wore me down. I guess is the only way to say it. Because he just knew that people would love it, and he was absolutely right. And we've continued on since then, and we've done a total of 10.
Okay, so what are those 10 that you've done?
So it is Remy, and then for Wally, it's actually Wally, the character.
Yep.
And then my favorite, which is the Ellie's pin from Up.
Okay,
which is the grape soda. And Kevin did that as a surprise. I was out of town, and when I came home, he had completed it. And there was a lot of work to that because you've got the bottle cap and it has all of the indents
right.
that he had to count on. So it's true to form. And it's very subtle. So if you hadn't seen the movie, it would not resonate with you. And I really liked that. So it did prompt questions. It would certainly draw your attention because it fit right over the tire.
Right.
It was designed to fit right over the tire.
Yeah, and we've seen that one for sure, and that one is absolutely fantastic. We love the giant pin in there. So how did he do the pin?
Yes. He got metal.
Wow.
And bent it.
Okay, well, it looks
in
so
the form of a pin. I mean, there was a lot of work in that.
Yeah. So and I also stopped you from going through the rest of them that you created there too.
Sure. Then Jessie for Toy Story 3, Mater for Cars, Merida for Brave, and Merida and Mater were the first ones that were really big, and such that I could not see out of my back window in the Jeep. And so it taught me how to use my side mirrors because the characters were so large. But that's when people really started catching on. Mm-hmm. That every year one of these would start to appear. And so after Merida, it was Mike Wazowski from Monsters University.
Yeah.
Bing Bong from Inside Out. And Arlo and Spot from The Good Dinosaur. And on the car right now is Hank with Dory in the
coffee pot.
The coffee pot.
Yeah, that one has been so kind of one of the reasons that we were inspired to do the interview is because someone that was at the studio had taken a picture of it, shared it on Instagram, and then we reshared it, and people were like, "Who did this?" And we just couldn't ignore it anymore. We had to find out a little bit more details.
Now, I should point out that while Kevin does the metal work, there is another artist involved who is Todd DeMario, and he is a model maker who has worked at ILM, and he's also an artist. He does the painting, so he is the one who gives it that three-dimension.
Okay.
Look. So between Kevin, so I pick the character. That's usually how it works. And in some cases, I pick it before the characters are even announced.
Yeah, so with the Bing Bong character, we knew he was shrouded in such secrecy, so you couldn't even put him on your car until the film's release?
Right. And typically we do want to release it on the day that the movie is released, but with Bing Bong, I couldn't even share it with Kevin and Todd.
Oh.
I was very careful. Now, I do feel that I could trust them, but I just didn't want to be the one responsible for letting Bing Bong out into the world.
Yeah.
So it was at the point where the marketing and creative services department said, okay, fine, we're starting to do a little bit of promotion around that character. You can at least start working on it.
That's awesome.
And so we did, yes. And Bing Bong is also a favorite. And what we also try to do is have them be as if they're in motion. And with Mike, with his hands up and it looks like he's walking, you'll watch children come up and mimic the character. Or they'll put their arms out like Bing Bong does. And maybe draw the bow back like Merida does. So we try to include some movement if we can. Depends on what's available to us. In terms of promotional material.
So when you change characters, what happens to the previous character?
Previous characters are... Wally is with our granddaughter, who she just loves Wally and loves to talk to him. And the others are in our yard. They're attached to the fence in our backyard. Only in the backyard, not in the front yard, because I'm afraid that they might go missing.
Well, yeah.
So we have a house with a lot of glass And so they are our artwork in the outside, on our outside fence.
That's fantastic. Wow. So obviously it sounds like, with your husband's background in carpentry and metalwork and all these other kind of things, does he do other art as well?
He does. He does putter around. He makes metal ties. He was able to get a lot of railroad spikes from a railroad that is being remodeled or rehabilitated in our area. So he has 100-year-old railroad spikes that he makes characters out of.
Wow.
But he's still working. He's still working as a carpenter. So he does cabinetry and things like that.
So he can get his creativity out in other ways.
Absolutely.
Oh, so you talked about like the attention that it garners when it's out. Is there one of them that has kind of shocked you, or just the one that gets the most attention when you're out and about?
Boy, they really all do.
Okay.
And it took me a while to figure out why people were tailgating. And, people's driving habits are questionable at times, but I was noticing that there were a lot of people right on my tail. And what I then noticed is that there was a cell phone in their hand.
Yeah.
And so it was at that point that I realized, this is all over Facebook. And so people would tell me, yes, of course, it's on somebody's Facebook feed or Instagram or whatever they are. So at this point, they all gather attention. I am stopped at the grocery store, at the gas station, people who follow me. I've been following for years. Finally, I get to meet you. They want the whole story behind it. The most scary was a tractor trailer who was on my bumper, and he also had a cell phone out. So,
oh, jeez.
I'm just, thankful that they're all decent drivers because there have been no incidents. And there's been no problem with them. One of the concerns we had was that people might deface them, might try to steal them, but nothing. Everybody just enjoys them. Kids love coming up to them and interacting with them, taking pictures. It's been a wonderful experience.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, it is one of those things at the beginning that it just brings an absolute smile to your face when you see it, because it's unexpected art and it's out there and they're big and bold and bright, and it's so
we're
much
guilty
fun.
I have a picture of me next to your Merida one when we were.
Oh, you do?
Yes, when we were at the studio.
So actually talking about like the reaction, has there ever been any adverse reaction as far as like have police ever said like, this is obstructing a view or anything like that?
No, not at all.
That's good.
And I'm a little bit surprised because of the size of certainly Merida.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we are very careful that the brake lights are not covered.
Yeah.
So we do position it very carefully. And, I had a flat about a week ago, and I thought, oh my, what am I going to do? I have to take Hank off. Because that's where the spare is.
Right.
Fortunately, somebody came to my rescue and did it and took the tire away and had it filled, so I didn't have to take the character off the back. So once they're on there, I haven't ever had to take them off until we replace them. And we don't take it off until we replace it. So I'm not driving around with a bare tire.
Right.
We're very careful about that because it's expected now. Everybody, the funny thing is, it took a long time for people even in the studio to realize it was my Jeep.
Is it just because it's unexpected?
They knew. It probably unexpected that it was me, I guess.
Yeah.
And because I'm not in I'm not an artist. I'm not in the artistic group, and the fact that they didn't ask anyone, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
They didn't ask the receptionist or someone to say, whose is that? So I'm still getting that occasionally. But those who know months in advance want to know the inside scoop.
Of course.
Who is the character going to be? And of course, I refuse to divulge anything, and it's always a surprise. I try to pick a character that is a surprise. So certainly in the case of Bing Bong,
yeah,
he's a huge character, but certainly a secondary character to the original, to the 4 emotions. But is so powerful as a character and colorful that why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that was when I saw the Bing Bong one, I was like, wow, how do you choose Bing Bong? I mean, obviously it makes sense now, but how do you choose Bing Bong when you've got all these great, powerful emotions and other characters to choose from?
Right. Well, it would have been hard if really all we had to choose was from the emotions. Which one would you? Do you do joy? I don't know. They all bring so much to the table. Choosing Bing Bong was actually easy once I started to think about it.
Sure. Was there one that was like it came down to the wire? You were not sure which one you were going to go with on one of the films?
No. Well, because, I suppose if someone outside had to decide, but because I'm aware of what's going on for years, even though I haven't seen the final character, you get a sense of what people are talking about, what characters might resonate, even within the studio. So it hasn't been hard, no. And fortunately, Kevin and Todd have gone along with me. They've completely agreed that what the characters that I would like to go with, they're willing to make, because it's a collaboration. The 3 of us have to decide, even though they do the heavy lifting.
Sure, of course.
Now, which character would you say that is the hardest, that was the most complex?
I would say Merida. If you look at the Merida and Mater, there's a lot of parts.
I thought you were going to say that with Mater for sure because of the tow hook and everything. The
tow hook and his mirrors are separate pieces, and the teeth are separate, and So Merida and Mater are the most complex.
And what was it about Merida specifically?
Well, if you look at the picture, her hair is in 3 pieces, and the medallion's on her bow, and there's just so many pieces that are layered in metal.
Obviously, you talked about between your husband and the other gentleman, was it Todd?
Todd DeMario.
So between the 2 of them, how long does it take for this process from when they originally start cutting the first piece of metal to when it's finally painted and put up on the car?
Right. It's a couple of weeks.
Wow, that's actually quicker than I thought.
Yeah, no, once they get started, and they're both so excited to do it, and depending on other things that are going on in their lives, they know that they want to hit the release date. So I know Todd has worked many late hours doing the painting. If you look at Bing Bong, the painting is just phenomenal. I mean, he does all of that detail.
Yeah, the shading and shadowing and all. You can almost see the individual lines of the cotton candy body on him.
Yes.
And the texturing on Hank. It's almost like 3-dimensional.
Yes.
Yeah, his eyebrows. It's raised up, and it's got a little bit of that bumpy.
Yes. Now that's metal work, actually. So that was done with welding.
Okay.
With the wattles under his eyes.
Yeah.
But for the others, it's paint. It's usually paint. And this is Todd's skill as a model maker.
Sure. Was it complex with Hank, with all of his tentacles, and then as well as the detail work in the suckers on his arms?
That's all. The suckers are cut out of a big piece, and then it is layered. And of course, Hank lost a tentacle.
Right.
Yes.
In an accident. So there are people who will come up and count to make sure that we only have 7.
Of course, you have to, right?
You have to. So you don't want to make any mistakes, because somebody will catch you on it.
Oh, well, especially with Pixar fans.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
All right. Well, I appreciate, obviously, this. Like we said, this is a extreme joy to not only talk about it, but learn a little bit more about it. It brings an absolute smile. It's one of those fun stories that we love to be able to present. And
whenever we get to the studio, we like to peek in the parking lot and see, okay, who is it now? Who is it?
Yeah.
Well, and I come in early, so I usually have the same park space.
We said that.
Yeah.
We're like, she's always in the front row.
And what's funny and lovely is that if I'm late on a particular day, people will leave that space for me.
Ah.
Isn't that something?
That's great.
So that everything else along, so there's someone who is in very early, and he takes spot 1, and I usually take spot 2. But there are many times where I, for whatever reason, will come in late, and they've left a spot for me. So the artwork has a very prominent place and location, and they want it to be noticed. And then so people will honor that in their own way, which I find very touching.
All right, so there's our chat with Beth Sullivan. Some great insights, eh? Mm-hmm. And just a ton of fun. I think it's like one of those like community posts. It's like, just getting to know more people within the studio is always a good thing. And
it's always exciting, and it's just fun to, I guess, talk to people with common interests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And just do like exceptional things in their spare time.
And did it kind of remind you of like you and me?
What are you talking about?
I don't know, where like the husband and wife, like, I don't know, they kind of do it together.
Yeah, of course. And like he suggested
interest.
something, and then she was like, I don't know. And then she came around and she's like, it was such a great thing. I think that would probably be the other way around for us.
Yeah, because I'm always talking you into things.
Right. But yeah, I think that, I could see that for sure. I thought it was...
Like this website.
Exactly. Yeah, you're doing. For sure. But I love, like, there's a couple, like, funny things. So I love how she kept Bing Bong a secret even from her husband.
You know what? I thought that was really touching. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was just, like, I could see you doing that.
Well, yeah, so that's, I think when I was thinking about, like, at the beginning before we did the interview, I said it kind of, like, it warmed my heart talking to her. I think that's kind of part of what it was. Like, I love, like, when people are, like, they take their responsibility of keeping the stories and the characters and just their loyalty to something. Like, she wants to keep it so private and secret. She's like, oh, the studio's asked me to do this. I better, make sure that, I do this. Even at the spousal level is dedication.
Oh, and I think you would do the same thing.
I know. I love it. It's so cool.
You wouldn't be telling me anything.
Well, because I would probably like having that over you to be like, I know something.
Yeah.
The other thing that was cool is right after we stopped the interview at the part where, she talked about the parking space and leaving it open. So cool that they do that. That other people understand that that's like its location now.
Well, it's awesome because it's right near the visitor parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how we walked right by it.
Mm-hmm. No assigned parking at Pixar, not even for the top brass. And, she's kind of got that one just because people know that they want to see it when they come in. It's like a staple at the studio kind of thing. It's just so cool how it's gone that way. But we continue to have a conversation about, like, again, if you go to the post that we wrote up, so we have the show notes for this episode is where we talk about, like, the interview. But then we did, because there were so many photos that she provided us of the build process, of all of the, individual characters, we wanted to do its own, we felt like it deserved its own post.
Oh, yes.
So you can click through to that one as well, which has all the images. But the lead image on the post talks about where she had a great story of somebody hooking all of the characters that she's done up to other Jeeps within the studio as part of the 2015 Motorama. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was a really cool, like, we got some additional other insights in talking to her and just casual kind of like sidebar conversation. Just a fantastic conversation. Can't thank Beth enough for taking the time. And obviously the great work of Todd and her husband Kevin is just astonishing. And we absolutely can't wait to see who they're going to do for Cars 3, who they're going to do for Coco. Yeah, I mean, it's like
Toy Story 4. I feel like it's going to be Bo Peep.
Ooh.
It has to be, right?
Oh, boy, that would just...
It's a love story.
And it's the return of Bo Peep.
I know. Is it, or will it be like Bo kissing Woody on a cheek?
It could be.
It's got to be Bo Peep.
I like it. Cars 3, is it going to go back to Lightning?
Well, it was already made. Yeah, I think or will it be one of the new ones? Like
a Cruz Ramirez?
It's got to be Lightning.
I feel like it's going to be Lightning too, because it's so Lightning. Quintessentially, it's Cars.
And I'll probably have a number 3 on it.
Mm-hmm. Is Coco going to be Miguel, or is it going to be more interpretive, signifying Day of the Dead?
feel like I kind of want it to be like the crew t-shirt, like more interpretive.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
The crew t-shirt would be cool.
Yeah, but then everybody would just think you're a Day of the Dead fan.
Yeah, you're right. But I don't know.
Interesting. So,
and then Incredibles.
Oh, God, that's going to be so cool.
I know.
A Syndrome. How cool would a Syndrome look? I don't even know if he's going to be in it. We don't know.
Yeah, he won't because he's not around anymore.
You never know with these characters.
No capes.
There's plenty of times that people go away and then all of a sudden, poof, they're back.
Yeah.
You never know.
Gazer beam.
He might be gone because we saw his skeleton.
I know.
Or was it his skeleton, or was it the...
it
was him. Yeah, okay. You got me all crazy here. Okay, so the other thing we wanted to talk about, too, was the redesign of our site. So just to kind of fill you guys in. So we did a redesign of our homepage. It was a total last-minute decision. We had been talking about it for well over a year.
Yeah,
we were trying to find the right look. We've been trying to talk to other people about it. We've been trying to find other hosts. We were going around and around with what to do. And, it's
been a long process.
Like art, you work on it for a while, you got to let it go, and you come back to it. Yeah. And sometimes when you come back to it, it provides you answers. And I came back to it, it provided me the answer, and I did it super short term. So it was late Sunday night. I think it was last Sunday even.
Well, long term, you just did it. You just acted quickly.
Correct. So yeah, it was a late Sunday night, and I worked... I think it was like 6 or 7 o'clock I decided I wanted to do it.
Yes.
And I worked until like 4 or 5 a.m. and just hammered it out.
And then woke up an hour later to go to work.
Yeah, exactly. But there was a couple things I didn't finalize. Like I had temporary slots for some of the drop downs, and the forum wasn't ready to go. But I even just threw a poll up on the homepage and I didn't advertise it or anything. I just wanted to see who would respond. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was really cool that just from doing those changes and putting in the work, I'm happy to note that 82% of respondents to the survey ranked it 80% or higher. So 82% of people said they give it basically a B or higher rating, and 60% of those said they loved it 100%. So I feel pretty good about those changes.
Yes. And we're still updating some of the pages.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some more updates, just subtle stuff, but the base of it's there now. So definitely we want to know your thoughts on it. There was a onesie twosie votes that were, like they said, it's okay, or I didn't love it. We want to know either way. What is it about it that you like more? What is it that you like less? Let's see what we can do to keep, tweaking it to make it the best for everybody. We feel like this one was a little bit better. It allowed us more ways to sort and filter on our posts and just present the news in a fresher format.
Yeah, to have more content show rather than it be more of like a blogger style. Mm-hmm.
I think one of the key things that I really liked too was the sections. So when you first come on, you've got your lead image, that's your main post. You scroll down, that's news. Then we do a section though where of the upcoming films. So then you'll see a block of news only about Cars 3. You'll see a block of news only about Coco, Toy Story 4, and Incredibles 2. So I just thought it was something like, if somebody's coming on, they might see these are like the hot stories that are top of mind, but I want to know more about Cars 3 because that's the next film. Mm-hmm. So we put them in order, kind of going down in chunks. And then also the buttons at the top. You can filter. We finally figured out a better way to do the products. We've done away with the separate products tab. It's all...
Yeah, the products have always been...
Mm-hmm. We never figured it out. But we got it now, so that way we have the drop down and you can filter it by, if you're looking by film or by type. So if you want to look at just Blu-rays or if you want to look at just holiday stuff. And we're going to be putting together a gift guide.
Our gift guides.
Right, the ultimate Pixar gift guide. So we're going to have the intro Pixar fan versus the mega fan. So start thinking about that.
Yeah, start saving for the mega fan
exactly,
stuff.
Exactly. So so definitely let us know whether you leave a comment on one of our posts or if you want to send us an email. It's just info@pixarpost.com, or go to the contact page and there's a form there that you can always add in your information. If you want to add it in there anonymously, you can do that too. I guess this pretty much wraps up the show.
Yeah.
We talked for a long time.
Yes, we did.
We're a little over an hour now, so thanks for hanging in there with us. Hopefully you enjoyed episode 50. We thought episode 50, let's maybe do like something retrospective, but then it was like, you know what? We had, open and honest, we had the delay in there, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense to look back at this point. We just got to keep looking forward. We've got the change of the website. Let's just keep going. We're going to be doing, like I said, 2 each month for the rest of the year. We'll reevaluate from there based on kind of our feedback
and bringing back the Pixar Minute.
Bringing back the Pixar. We've got a lot of stuff in the hopper right now that we're doing. Just had to get some other things out of the way.
Yes.
So as usual, we like to say be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels, being Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, Google+, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Overcast, or Stitcher. And lastly, not only let us know what you think about the site, but if you're going to email us already, heck, just let us know what you think about the episode too. We'd also love to know, and we say it in the post, which of the characters that Beth has done so far is your favorite. So let us know in the comments on that post, whether it be the special post or on the episode 50 podcast post. But let us know what you think there. So signing off as usual, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And be sure to stay tuned to PixarPost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.